Hello, welcome to this week's assembly. Do any of you have a surfboard? Do you go surfing? Have you ever been surfing? Today, I'm going to tell you the amazing story of Bethany Hamilton. Bethany began surfing at a very early age. When she was 8, she entered her first competition, and incredibly, she won both categories, the longboard and the shortboard. Everybody thought that Bethany had a really bright future ahead of her at surfing. When Bethany was surfing, she was surfing in Hawaii, just off of Hawaii from an island. Notice I've got my Hawaii shirt on today. And she was attacked by a 14-foot tiger shark. And in that attack, she lost her arm. She had to be rushed into hospital where she underwent several operations. Everybody thought that Bethany's surfing days were over. But they weren't. Bethany was full of determination and self-discipline, and she also had a strong faith in God. And within a month, she returned to the surfing on the surfboard just with one arm. In 2007, as a teenager, she turned professional, and 2 years after that, she was second in the World Junior Championships. Now that is an amazing turnaround. Bethany's about 30 now. She's married with 2 children, one 3 and one 6, and she still surfs professionally. You can find out about her online. She's written a book. And last year, there was a film made of her life story. And that film is called Unstoppable. You can actually buy it from Amazon. Now, our Bible story today is even an amazing turnaround than Bethany's. One day, Jesus and his disciples were on their way to a town called Nain. Now, Nain is only mentioned once in the Bible here in Luke's Gospel. It was a small town not far from Nazareth where Jesus grew up. It was about the size of Alverscott. As they went towards the town, coming from the town, they met a funeral procession. The man who died was young. We don't know exactly how old, and we don't know what he died of. But Jesus knew that he was the mother's only son, and the mum was a widow, which means her husband had died. She was all alone and obviously was missing her only son. But not only that, Jesus knew that probably she faced a life of begging for money, because in those days it was only men that earned money, and now she had no husband and no son to earn money for her. And quite often that's what widows ended up doing, begging on the street corners to earn enough money for food. How might that widow be feeling? How might the boy's friends have been feeling? How had the other people in the funeral procession been feeling? Well, the widow would have been very sad because she was missing her son, and probably worried because she wondered what would happen to her. When Jesus saw her, he felt for her. He said, "Don't cry." And then he moved forward, he touched the coffin and said, "Young man, I say to you, get up." Amazingly, a miracle. The dead man sat up. Imagine what the crowds would have thought. Imagine what the mum would have thought. Imagine what the young man would have thought. Jesus gave the boy back to his mum. The mother and the son turned round and walked home. Now that is a miraculous turnaround. And I want to make a couple of points about that story. And one is that in life, we don't get people back who have died. It's very sad when someone dies that we're close to. That might have happened to you. It's happened to me. I was close to my granddad. Maybe you're close to your granddads. And I was 25. I was a young man when he died, but I was very sad and I missed him an awful lot. And another sad thing happened to me, and that was I had a baby who died. We don't know what was wrong with him. But I was really, really sad. And I miss them, my granddad and my baby. But I still think of them a lot. They're still here with me. And when we lose someone, they're still with us when we think about them, when we remember them. And if someone close to us dies, we have lots of different feelings, don't we? Lots of different emotions. We can feel happy sometimes. We can feel sad. We can feel like crying. We may cry. We feel angry. Sometimes we don't want to do anything. We're up and down. We have good days and we have bad days. And you might have had a family member or a friend that has died, or a pet that you were close to. When that happens, just know that it's normal to have lots of different feelings. But if I could give you a tip, talk to someone about how you're feeling. Maybe a teacher or a teacher's TA, or someone in your family that you know well and trust. And also talk about the person that has died, because it's good to do that. It's a way that we remember them. And we can be grateful for what they meant to us and what they mean to us. Now, Christians believe that Jesus shows us what God is like. Whenever Jesus came across people in the Gospels who were sad, he did something to help them. In the 4 Gospels, can you remember what they are? Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. There are three recorded times that Jesus raised someone from the dead. There was his friend Lazarus. There was a little girl who don't know her name. She was about 12 and her dad was called Jairus. And then there was this young man, the widow at Nain's son. Luke is the only one of the Gospels that tells us about the raising of the widow's son to life again. Jesus' love and power transformed an end into a new beginning. He brought joy where there had been sadness. Now, Christians see these particular 3 miracles as signposts pointing ahead to what would actually happen to Jesus. That he would die on Good Friday, and then on Easter Sunday, he'd come back to life again. And Christians also believe that death is not the end, and that one day we will see our loved ones again in heaven. Now, why do you think Jesus healed that boy or brought him back to life? Was it because he was showing off? I don't think so. Was it because he wanted people to know what he could do? I don't think so. How do you think Jesus felt when he saw the sad people at the funeral, and particularly the widow? Well, Luke tells us that Jesus was full of compassion. Compassion means that Jesus could feel how they were feeling, and those feelings that he felt moved him to do something about it. Now, you and I might not be able to do what Jesus did, might not be able to raise the dead, but we can all have that attitude of compassion. When we see someone in need, we may feel for them, and those feelings may move us to do something to help them. And that's a really good thing. The thing that we can do might only be a very small thing, but it can make a real difference to someone. And do you know what? Sometimes, perhaps many times, when we do something to help someone, we might not actually know that it helps them. We might not know what a difference it makes to them. Let me tell you a true story of something that happened to me really quickly to show this point. In my previous job, before I come to Carterton to work, there was a lady in the church that I went to whose husband died. They'd been married a long time. I didn't know her very well, but when I saw her at church, I could see how sad she was. And I felt for her. I wanted to help her in some way, but I didn't know what to do. But I just felt inside that I had to go and visit her. So I found out where she lived. I went and I knocked on the door. She opened the door, invited me in and made a cup of tea. And we sat down drinking her tea. And I asked her how she was feeling, and she told me all about how she felt sad and felt guilty and various other things. And I asked her about her husband, because I didn't know him very well. And she told me all about his character and what he was like. And I was there about an hour. And then I said a little prayer, asking Jesus to help her in her loss. And I left. And I didn't know whether it had helped her or not. But I just felt I've done the right thing. I've tried to do something. And then 3 years later, I was in a meeting in a home where people were discussing things, and this lady was also there. And she told the story of that day when I went round there and what a big difference it had made to her. And I hadn't got any idea. And that can happen to us. Another very true story was a boy called Ben had recently joined a school. He was in year 10. He'd moved areas with his mum and dad. And he was going home one Friday night and he saw another boy who was also a year 10 called Kyle, who he didn't know very well because he was new to the school, and he was being bullied. A crowd of other boys were crowded round him, calling him names and pushing him. And they pushed him over and he dropped all his books that he was carrying. And as he fell over, his glasses fell off. And Ben ran towards them. And as he ran towards them, these other boys ran off. And Ben bent down, picked up Carl's glasses, gave him to him, and said, "Let me help you pick the books up." And straight off, from that, they become friends. And they were very different. Ben was quite sporty, and Kyle was quite academic. He liked lessons and doing maths and writing. And they become best friends. And then in year 13, they both stayed on and did A-levels. Kyle had become the head boy. He was very clever and very popular. And it was the prom, and Kyle was going to do a speech. And he said this: "At the prom, it's time to thank those who have helped you make it through those tough years. Your parents, your teachers, but mostly your friends. I'm here to tell you that being a friend to someone is the best gift that you can give them." And Ben listened with disbelief as Kyle told the story of when they first met. Kyle said he was depressed. He had no friends. He wished he hadn't been born. And he was thinking of running away because he felt so sad. But when he met Ben, his outlook changed. And Ben didn't know how much his actions meant. Never underestimate the power of your actions. With one small act or one small word, you can change a person's life. Mother Teresa once said, "If you cannot feed 100 people, feed one." In other words, just do a little bit, what you can, to help one person. I'm just going to say a closing prayer to finish. And if you want to make it yours, you can say Amen at the end. Dear God, help us if we've lost someone close to us. Comfort us and strengthen us. And we pray that you would help us also to have compassion and to look to the needs of others, to help others when we can. Amen. Well, good to see you. I hope you like that assembly, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye. Bye.